everyone. Hello. Thank you for joining us, and hello again to Gabby.
It's good to
So
see
I
you,
guess
Nicole.
we are just a couple of kilometers away from others, but then we are talking to Bangkok as well as our audience from all over the world tuning in. So very happy to see you as well.
Yeah, it's great to be
So
here again.
right. So how busy are you these days? I mean, what has been keeping you busy
Oh,
instead?
extremely busy. I think we're going to see a renaissance in Web3 gaming soon. And yeah, I'm basically working harder than I was in 2021.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I hope that that's positive news because actually, I guess, of course, there's a lot of doubt about maybe whether we're going to have the next cycle of Web3 gaming. Is it possible to maybe shed some light into what you are cooking at this point with the Renaissance?
Sure. So, ever since last year, we've been working on what we call our casual degen games that we've been working on within YGG. We've seen a lot of games in the past few years, different kinds of games, some of them big, some of them small, expensive, and what we thought was that a lot of the games were actually, we thought, building for the wrong audience. So we started building our own games with the thesis of a casual degen audience. And these casual degens are basically people who want to have fun, speculate, make money in Web3. People are maybe trading meme coins, NFTs, maybe they're trading. What they're not are really hardcore gamers. They want casual gameplay that has some speculative elements. And that's what we delivered with Lowland. The game is less than 3 weeks old. And yeah, the results we've gotten are astounding. And I think it's proven our thesis that the casual degen Web3 persona is the correct one to build games for.
Oh, okay. I think that's definitely very exciting for us, to look forward to. So the session that we have today is actually there are three main keywords to it. So we have play to earn, we have communities, and we have the future of work. So I hope that 45 minutes is sufficient for us to crack all of these topics. And then basically we're gonna go with that narrative as well, just to maybe chat with you a bit about play to earn and maybe what's the next narrative. Then
Sure.
we're going to move on to Web3 communities and then the future of work and DAOs, how we would be able to, maybe foster more meaningful and impactful communities in the future. So now maybe just to take a step back and, just want to have a chat with you about what brought you here. Like, what was the journey like for you before when you started with, XC and then now YGG? Could you
Yeah.
just walk us through that
So,
journey?
so my journey was as a game developer. I've been a game developer for over 20 years now, starting originally out of the Philippines. I had an independent mobile game studio starting 2014, and we were struggling to get noticed among the sea of all of the different games and apps that were in the app stores then. And we were looking for what would be the next platform shift that could be disrupting gaming. And in 2017, I heard about Ethereum and more specifically smart contracts. And I thought this was very interesting because with smart contracts, you can basically you can program money into economies like games, which has not really been done before. And then while going down the smart contract rabbit hole, CryptoKitties came out. This is December 2017, and basically brought down Ethereum. And that's when I discovered NFTs, and that really excited me further. And yeah, I thought then that NFTs was going to be the future of gaming. So actually, I've been in the intersection of crypto and gaming since then.
Oh, in like that would be like way long
8 years
back, I
now.
would say 8 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, just a side question. Let's say, do you think that these traditional platforms are actually, making any moves towards, let's say, competing with some of the emerging platforms with gaming? Do you think that they would be able to catch up with getting more, I think, young and also the emerging gaming audience?
I'm not sure that catching up is the right word. I think that behavior will shift per generation. So, for example,
Mm-hmm.
the older generations are more into console. The younger generations are very much into like open world building games like Roblox and Minecraft. And now there are games on Minecraft. There's like a farm building game inside of Roblox actually that would be one of the largest games by daily active users, like tens of millions if it were broken out separately as a game. So I think games that have inherent economies in them with crypto will also be a kind of separate kind of category that maybe regular gamers hate right now. But as these economies become more and more common, they will just find and have their hold of a new type of user base. So I'm not really trying to give the crypto-based game to current gamers or what I would say we call like Web 2.5 is doing. We're trying to find the natural new audience of games that are receptive to these crypto games and then give them products that they want.
Okay. So you have touched on a very, I think, important aspect, which is about behavior of the users and the gamers. And I believe that you have been very vocal about shifting from, let's say, play to earn to free to play and other narratives. Could you elaborate a little bit more on the reasons why, you are advocating for that change in narrative?
Yeah, so if you look at games, there are games where mostly you can play for free, and then games you have to pay to purchase some content or some assets. And then there is play to earn, which is you're playing a game and essentially you're getting ownership in assets. I think there is actually a kind of balance for how you use all three. At the end of the day, you're balancing a digital economy. And when in a digital economy, people have to pay money in so that there has to be value out. So the reason that play to earn worked 4 or 5 years ago was that people were paying to breed axes because these axes were then used to earn more tokens. So the question is always about sustainability. How can you find like token models or gameplay models that are sustainable? And I think, yeah, there are some games, including our own, that are a lot closer to finding that out.
Okay. Do you think that let's say the audience or the what you call emerging gamers, right? Like the new ones or the natural kind of gamers. I mean, do you think that anyone can be your target kind of gamers in the future, or where can you find them?
Well, right now we are targeting Web3 native users, which obviously is a smaller segment, much smaller segment than uh, like all gamers. But I do think that Web3 native users will grow very quickly, especially with the rise of stablecoin as payments. I think we're actually going to see a lot more like normal user-facing products that are using stablecoins, and this will also give rise to the use of crypto-powered applications.
Okay. So how bullish are you with, let's say, the size of the, I would say, Web3 gamers kind of market, let's say, in 3 to 5 years? And do you think that we have already got what it takes to get to that level or get to that size?
Yeah. I mean, as long as you can see stablecoin adoption rise, especially with like Web2 platforms, like for example, if Stripe is using stablecoins, if Visa is using stablecoins, then this actually allows you to power a lot of crypto native applications by users that do not consider themselves crypto native. And there's a lot of reasons why you would use stablecoin versus a credit card. You're not paying the 3% fee to either Visa or MasterCard. You're not getting any chargebacks. You're getting capital that you can use immediately that's not held hostage in an app store. So actually, stablecoins are really good UX, and I think they will also power the growth of crypto-powered applications, including games.
Okay, so I think definitely, I think towards that mass adoption, it's not just, I think the effort from the Web3 players, right? So we also need to have some more of these like ramping partners and also more traditional players to come in and support us with this vision. So now also like maybe getting a little bit maybe back to the history of why you are in this industry. So you mentioned that I think it started with maybe with the frustration with the gaming platform. So you decided to build another
That's right.
platform, which is more accessible to everybody. And now, I've got the news that you have also decided to build another game on your own.
That's right.
So that would be like, maybe is that like a journey back to
It
your
is.
heritage? And
Yeah.
why is it happening? Just share with us.
Yeah, very good question. So when we had our initial success with YGG in 2021, onboarding communities to game like Axie Infinity, I thought my game development days were over. And then, of course, we were buying assets in different games. We were reviewing a lot of different games. And it wasn't until like we thought there was a mismatch between the games that were being made and the target market that is actually there that we decided to create our own game. So a lot of that is informed by our experience in just dealing with literally hundreds of games in Web3.
Okay. So I mean, so I think back in the day, maybe it started with the frustration with the gaming platforms. And right now, let's assume that that challenge might have partially been resolved. What do you think that might be, what do you think that you would need to actually kind of develop this product further and maybe to resolve some of the frustration that you had before?
Yeah, so now we have a game that has excellent early traction, which we think we can really scale. We're building on top of a new blockchain that has an app store format, which is an abstract chain, which actually abstracts away a lot of the kind of difficulties of using the blockchain. So it's a very good user experience. And between the games that we have and I think like the easy like wallet process of abstract, I think it's ready to scale to a lot more users than we could previously reach.
Do you think that kind of journey or that kind of experience is accessible to everybody, or is it just to a certain number of gamers?
No, I think it could be accessible to everyone for sure.
Okay. What about game developers? Do you think that they have already got what it takes to actually like build like a game for the mass at this point?
Yeah, I think the hardest part isn't actually the money. It's knowing what type of game to build for your target audience. I think that even the game that we made it in less than a year, and it was far less expensive than most of the games that we
Mm.
invested in.
Oh, okay.
And so yeah, like I think knowing what target market you want to work with is actually the most critical part of the product building.
Okay. Okay. So talking about target audience again, you mentioned about casual degens as your target audience. So who can be defined as casual degens? And I mean, does that mean that it's only applicable to certain kind of audience? Like, for example, am I consider a casual degen, or like how would we be able to approach like, more people
Okay, I have a question. Do you like to trade NFTs or meme coins?
at some point? Yes.
Okay, and do you like playing casual games like maybe a Candy Crush or something like that?
The second, yes. Yeah.
Okay, so what if you combine those two where you are playing games that are very easy to play that have some elements of fun and speculation in them? Is that something that you'd like?
Yeah, I should say yes, right?
This is the part where you say yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. So it means that basically it's going to be like combining both the fun of the games as well as some, I think, excitement with speculation, right? Which I
Yep.
think is also the main drive of a lot of crypto users.
That's
Yeah.
correct. So we're not going for the hardcore gamers. We're really going for the casual degen as our audience, and yeah, I think we've really hit on something here.
Okay. Now that you mentioned, I think that this might be like something that maybe what we call like grandmas or like housewives can actually play as well, during their free time. And basically, they can also be accounted as your maybe target audience.
Yeah, that's
That's
right.
correct.
Before I actually got into crypto, I was making casual games, hidden object games for housewives and grandmas. So this is actually really full circle for me.
Mm. Okay, yeah. So very much looking forward to it. So I think it has been like, the first part was just about your journey with gaming, Web3 gaming, what is shaping the narrative, and obviously we are very much looking forward to your game and what you mentioned as Web3 gaming renaissance. Now, moving on to the second topic, which is also one of my favorites, is about building communities. And more importantly, how we can build sustainable communities through market cycles. Which I think is not the top of mind thing for a lot of builders when it comes to maybe their market. So I think maybe the very first question that I want to ask you is that, is there any sort of thesis for you when you build a community, especially with YGG, and has it changed, let's say, in the past 3 years? If you can just share with us.
So the thesis has always been consistent. We build our communities that come together because they like to do activities together. We don't build communities because of like a certain price of an asset. Obviously, people still want to make money. We don't hide from that fact, but that is not the primary reason while they're around. The reason we built strong communities through thick and thin was that we don't focus on the price of the assets, and we focus on things that people can do together to have fun socially, teach each other, onboard, educate, and that's what's enabled us to really come through in across multiple cycles now.
Do you see that so let's say, are people still coping with that? Are people still following that narrative when it's bear market? I mean, is there any change in sort of the narrative of communities getting together?
I don't think the narrative has changed. It's more like during bear markets, it's harder to keep communities together. The people who are not as committed will leave, and the people who are really dedicated will stay. And I think that's kind of always been the case.
Mm. And that's a very good point that you mentioned about the learning values to the community. And I believe that you also ran a community initiative called Guild Advancement Program as well, which
That's
was
right.
a smashing success. I think you got like over like 400,000 something people.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, what is the secret sauce for you to actually balance this sort of educational programs with earnings, so that you will be able to keep the community members coming back for more?
Yeah, we structure it with quests where people have to do certain things that allow them to earn tokens. So there might be, creating some content or learning some information. And this means that while your community is doing this because they ultimately want to earn the tokens, right? They want to earn ownership of the network. You're also giving them some valuable skills along the way. So it's not just the money that matters. It's actually like what skills you're gaining while you get there.
Hmm. Does it mean the token is not necessary to build up a community?
Oh, I think it's much harder to build a community without a token because at the end of the day, the token is still a great kind of incentive alignment tool. But of course, it also depends on how powerful the token is.
Mm. So, I mean, let's say with how would you be able to define like a more community-oriented tokenomics and maybe just a general tokenomics, or let's say a very good one and a bad one,
Well,
tokenomics?
just to give you personal example, at YGG, 45% of the token supply has been reserved for community. So that's almost half of the entire token supply. And we still have a really high amount of that remaining. We still have around 40% of that remaining, which means that we still have a lot of tokens with which we can incentivize our community behavior for a long time to come. A lot of projects maybe cut or burn their tokens so that they can reduce supply during the bear market so that it would raise their market cap. We haven't done so, and I think when we're faced with a better market, then YGG is much better positioned to capture community value because we haven't skimped on our community supply.
Okay. So other than those, let's say learning points about tokenomics and maybe how you would be able to engage the gamers, is there anything that you think from your experience with YGG can be replicable to, let's say, smaller kind of or new game developers?
Well, if you are a new game developer, I think authenticity is what matters the most. You want to build with your community and you want to be authentic with them, and that's really where it starts, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay, authenticity, which I think is what everybody needs to start their product or their
That's right.
inception idea inception with, right? So
That's
yeah,
right.
you mentioned like I think for communities and especially also the gaming community, I think there's a very interesting topic on the actual interoperability. So, we have talked about it. People have always mentioned that, this is a must. This is something that should happen, like different games and so on. But then do you think that actually right now, I mean, what is the real kind of demand for that cross game interoperability to make it happen? Like, is that a real demand behind it? And I mean, do we really need it as game developers?
Interoperability is a second order effect. If the products are good in the first place, then interoperability makes them better. I don't think it's the primary thing people need to solve for. I think people still need to solve for a very good product that users want. And then once you have that product, then interoperability actually drives a lot of cool interactions that allow you to mix with other products, with other communities that end up making your own product stronger.
Okay. And do you think like technically it's viable to do that right now, like with all of these like asset transfer and especially I mean, I think there's a narrative on like on-chain transfer as well. Do
Yeah,
you
yeah.
really think that
Yeah, I
that's
think the technical part is not hard. It's actually just
mhm.
making interoperable assets that people want is the hard part.
Yeah. How can we come up with some interoperable assets that people want other
Uh,
than developing a very good game?
I mean, like for example, with our game, it's very skinnable. We have pudgy penguins in our game, and we're looking for other IP from other games, other communities that we want to integrate in it. So that's already kind of an easy part for integration. And you can say that our game kind of launched with interoperability in mind from day one because we launched in partnership with the pudgy penguins community.
Mm. So what about other type of games who want to interoperate with your games, LOL Land or YGG? I mean, is there any sort of requirement or metrics that you're looking for in these kind of games?
We're looking for very strong, passionate communities that we would want to mix with. I think like DGen IP communities, I think are something that we're looking for. Yeah.
Okay. Is there any specific country or like market that you think might be like more might be potential partners to you at this point? Is it still
No
mostly Philippines
specific, no
or
specific country. Like anywhere in the world is fine. Actually, the number
oh,
one source of players in Lowland is coming from the USA. That surprises people because they always think that the players from like YGG's game are always from the Philippines. But yeah, our number one source of gamers right now is actually the US.
okay. So, I mean, has there been any sort of attempt for you to approach the US consumers, or what is the some of the lessons learned for you to be able to actually make it global? I think from day one with LOL Land.
Yeah, good question. I think with our work with Pudgy Penguins and on Abstract Chain, with the work that we've done with different content creators from around the world, that has allowed us to capture what is a very international user base.
Okay, sounds great. And I think that there would be some lessons learned and takeaways for some of the audience as well here if they want to partner with you for their games. So, thank you for sharing all of the insider information and tips on building the communities. Yeah, I would love to maybe move on to, I think our next topic, which is about, how it's going to look like with decentralized work and DAOs now that as you mentioned, the communities are also very decentralized. And also, of course, with the team and the startups, they are also becoming very global right now. So I think with DAO, I mean, well, maybe starting with the controversial question first. I mean, do you think that the DAO is still a good narrative to build on these days with gaming communities in specific, and also with other communities in general?
I think DAOs have mostly failed. I can't think of a lot of really good instances. Maybe MakerDAO is a good one, but yeah, it's been a tragedy of the commons for the most part. It's like
So, and
it's like homeowners association with tokens.
okay. Do you think that that's something that we can fix or not yet?
It's definitely fixable. I don't think that the DAO might be the best structure for it. Definitely, you want decentralized participation. Decentralized decision making often leads to paralysis. And if you can see this with how governing structures or governments are made up. Typically, it works if there is a small but very highly empowered team that can make decisions for the group as a whole. But then the community has the power to install or maybe remove these people. I mean, that's how democracy works, right?
Okay, so to you, what would be what would the decentralized democracy work, let's say, in the future?
So definitely having a core leadership that is able to make day-to-day decisions without having to consult with the entire like holder body. I think that is extremely important. And then having a review process where like the entire body or the entire community has some macro goals that they want to achieve, and then these leaders can be judged by, and then maybe a process, election, whatever, in which we can decide whether these people are doing their jobs or not. I think that process, like there's no governing process that is perfect, but I think that largely works.
So what do you think that's going to work with YGG? Let's say, just to be able to cope with this, let's say, decentralized governance or model in the future.
Yeah, so for example, with YGG, participation is decentralized in the sense that there are hundreds of guilds that work with us, participate in different initiatives, join us as a community, but the guilds themselves do not tell us what to do. They do not tell us what products to work on. That is still decided by the founders and the core team. And the fact that YGG still has all of its founders intact after 5 years of operation, I think is a very rare thing in the industry.
Okay. So maybe can you tell us about one of the, let's say, so I heard about some of these initiatives that you are also launching or you have launched with YGG. I think one of them is called Metaversity
That's
and
right.
other initiatives as well. Is there any kind of initiative that you feel very proud of and that you want to share with everyone, just so that it would be maybe basically be replicable to other enthusiasts?
Yeah, Metaversity is our technology educational program in the Philippines, not just Web3, but AI skills as well, so that community members can upskill themselves and be able to find meaningful work, a lot of them within the Web3 projects that we work with, and with some AI tasks as well. We don't want people to be like airdrop hunting or yield farming full time. We want to give them skills that actually allow them to have a job and steady income. And yeah, so we find those different skills and then we train up our community members via university, but Metaversity, and we don't charge for this. This is free for our community members.
So you mentioned a very interesting topic, which I think is about career prospect, right? So I think before with the smashing success of XC, there has been there are people who actually taking this playing XC as a sort of career, which they
Uh-huh.
can thrive in the future. So do you think that basically with Web3 gamer, this is going to be like a serious sort of career path that you think they can consider in the future?
There's a viable career in professional esports. In fact, YDG has our esports team where we do have full-time professional players. However, this is not a lot of people. These are basically the elite gamers of the elite, and only a few people are able to make money basically playing games competitively full-time. I wouldn't recommend it for everyone.
Okay, right. We will not take this as career advice for what we are discussing today.
Unless you're
So
very, very, very good.
you have to be very authentic and definitely very passionate about this for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, because definitely, I mean, like with Web3, what I find very compelling is that there are a lot of these educational initiatives as well, which definitely would help to educate people on how to get into Web3 and obviously on how to earn like a job in Web3 industry. So I think what we are looking for is that basically this is not going to be like a overnight industry. It's gonna be something that people can dedicate their profession and their expertise towards. So I think that moving on with that kind of topic, we also want to see how let's say when we zoom in Southeast Asia, because this is where we are both coming from. I think, well, basically with Web3 work, how do you feel that, do you feel comfortable with using Southeast Asia as a sort of testing bed for these new models of Web3 work for you? And, or would you rather be more comfortable, like maybe going global, from day one?
Southeast Asia has always been very important for us. We have significant footprint within like Philippines, of course, within Vietnam as well. We have very strong communities in Malaysia. The kind of center of the money for most of crypto is within Singapore. So Southeast Asia is an incredible nerve center for it. However, making your product and marketing your product has to be global. You cannot be confined to your own region. So that's the biggest lesson we've learned.
And I mean, like from what I see, although I mean we have claimed a lot, like with a lot of games also claim that themselves that they are global, but I think that there are not that many, I think AAA, especially Web3 games that are coming out of Southeast Asia. I mean, do you think that that's still the situation right now, or is there any way that we can see it change in the future?
Well, if you see some of the most successful games in the last few years, a bunch of them have come from Vietnam. So there is, I think, incredible talent in Southeast Asia. Now it's just a matter of are we able to match the skills with the types of games that we want to make with with what the market wants to consume. So I think that is more of the question rather than can we do it. The answer is definitely yes, we can do it.
Okay, sounds wonderful. So we are also like moving on to some of the topics about, you mentioned AI, which I think is definitely one of the key disruptive technologies at this point with blockchain in general and other technologies. Have you seen any kind of major difference, between like AI games or AI sort of driven games versus the games before?
We haven't seen a lot of really broad-based application of AI in a lot of games right now yet. Having said that, I'm already seeing a lot of games under development that have very heavy use of AI all across the stack. Some of them more on the production side, a lot of prototyping, process improvement, creating prototype artwork. Of course, there are games that try to innovate with AI on the gameplay front. These have been more experimental, and I think there's no like clear-cut success yet, but I do expect to see one in the next couple of years.
So with that, does it mean that AI is not like a like must-have skill for like the emerging Web3 gamers or developers?
I think AI is a must-have skill for anyone in the world right now. I think that if you're not learning how to harness AI in whatever skill that you're doing, you're being left behind.
So I mean, like let's say with AI adoption, I mean we have seen a lot of these. I think like also gamification sort of experience, to actually teach people on how to implement AI and use AI in their work. I mean, would that be something that you would consider? And do you think that this is going to be something that people can also like, think of different business models in the future?
Yeah, definitely. We're already seeing a lot of ways in which traditional processes are being disrupted with AI, and with the end result being a lot cheaper and a lot faster. We're going to see a lot of disruption across the board for that.
All right. Okay, so now we have pretty much covered the topic of play to earn, moving on to free to play, the communities, and the future of work. Maybe I want to touch upon a bit that, like, the topic about traditional kind of industries, because basically I think we are also talking about the convergence of Web2 and Web3 and how we would be able to drive more mainstream adoption. So, I mean, in your work with YGG and also with your new game, how is have you started like to interact or engage with the traditional kind of players, and how is their perception so far, and how is their reaction so far?
So with the games that we're doing, we don't really engage with like a traditional player base. We really engage more with a Web3 casual DGen audience. So yeah, those are the types of gamers that we interact with.
So let's say for the existing sort of Web2 games, and then who are looking into entering Web3, I mean, what would be your advice to them? Is there any way that would help them to have an easier sort of journey of entering Web3?
I think they need to take the time to really understand what Web3 users want. People think that just coming into Web3 with superior experience in game development is going to make them successful in Web3, and the last few years have proven that that is not the case at all.
Right. So, I mean, yeah, we also mentioned about like, let's say if it's adoption by force or it's adoption by motivation, because it's not going to be like, it's not going to work for everybody. I think at this point, even though we really want to see everybody in the Web3 space. So I think we would definitely want to have some of the, some of the takeaways and some of the learning points that we would like to get from you, for the audience. So maybe now, maybe starting with a topic from play to earn and some of these narrative first. And so let's say for a new game developer who are looking to join the space, what do you think? I mean, other than authenticity, as you mentioned, should they kind of follow the narrative or the trending narrative right now, or should they just stick to what they want to build and test out the market, and kind of just hustle all along the way? What do you think is going to work?
Good question. I think narratives are good for tactics, but your product has to have something enduring that will work no matter what the narrative is. At YGG, we don't build for what the current narrative is, and we never have. We want to make sure that we have a fundamental truth of why our product needs to exist. However, when it comes to marketing, when it comes to community, then that's when we tap on narrative so that we can see how we can best present it to the user base.
And let's say like right now versus 3 years ago, when I think like we want to learn from your experience of growing your Twitter base to like 40 times right now. I think that's definitely like, the something that is not like universal. We cannot see it everywhere. I mean, but do you think that right now it's similarly visible to do that? Or is there any other sort of lessons learned or secret sauce that you can share with everyone to grow their social presence?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I tweet often. I talk about the things that I know about and that people find interesting. And then every once in a while, a much larger account retweets me, and that's how your user base goes. It's a little bit random. You don't know when it'll happen. A lot of people start by replying to like very famous people like Elon Musk, hoping that they get retweeted. I would not start with Elon Musk. I'd probably start with people that are at the top of the field that you want to be in. Maybe it's NFTs, maybe it's meme coins, maybe it's gaming. And once they engage with you, then your account gains more visibility. That's what happened to me because I was tweeting a lot about NFTs and gaming when it wasn't popular. And when it started becoming popular, that's when I started gaining more followers.
So you should kind of dig deeper to find some of these potential trending topics and
That's right.
actually like build your presence even before that, right?
That's right.
So once you get to that sort of, let's say, status, is it hard to actually maintain that to maintain the
Uh,
social presence?
you kind of have to keep active or else you kind of lose it. So as long as you're maintaining active, you can maintain it.
So, for instance, I think with a lot of the games right now, of course, they're trying very hard with a lot of the engagement with the audience,
That's
and
right.
I mean there are some sort of let's say debates that basically the engagement schemes for Web3 games is not that massive anyway. So, what would you say to those people?
Yeah, find something that can resonate with the market. I mean, for us, we haven't had a problem actually finding a user base for our game, even though the narrative for Web3 games is currently very negative, and it's because we've kind of hit the fundamental truth of matching a product with what the core users that we're targeting want.
Right. So again, it's going to go back to the, let's say the product market fit of the
Correct.
game, if I'm not
Correct.
mistaken.
Correct.
So basically, it's going to be easier to build up from that narrative. So moving on to maybe imagining that you're not sticking to community builders, which is like me and other people who want to learn from you, like from the experience of YGG. So how do you see? So we want to combine this question with the topic about future work and the toolings
Yep.
and so on later. So I think as always, I mean, for me, when I run a community, it's always very hard to actually maintain, engage the audience on a daily
Of
basis,
course.
and it's actually like a tough job. And basically, you have to keep engaging people so that they can engage back, and that's
Yep.
always kind of this vicious cycle. And basically, have you seen any sort of models that's working? I mean, without much incentive for communities to actually be able to sustain, like, for the long run?
Yeah. So apart from just a pure social model, I think there has to be a product layer with what you're doing that people are doing together. Even think about communities that are very active in sports. It's a sport that gets them together. People that are very active in playing games, which is part of what our community does. It's hard to be a pure social community product layer on top of it. And also, it's also very difficult, and I don't recommend monetizing via your community directly. But having that product layer actually allows you to monetize better because then you're monetizing the product, you're not monetizing your community.
Mm. And I think there's some very interesting points that you mentioned when you mentioned that, we need to have like a governance team which is not impacted by, let's say, the decision from the community. I mean,
That's right.
how would that play out in the governance sort of structure, let's say, of a community? Have you tried to deploy any sort of new governance, or do you think that that's still like a problem to be solved in the future?
We haven't really actively done that yet. I think that if we're in a more stable place with how we act with our community and we can give them kind of guardrails on where they can actually add more benefit by having governance, then we'll do so.
All right. So, maybe some of the last questions will be maybe more about you. So we want to know you better, and also maybe want to have some takeaways from you to the audience. What is your most favorite role if you are not like a game developer or a gamer?
Favorite favorite role? I think I
Yeah.
just like to hang out with my family.
Okay, so a family person. So let's say in a community, would you rather be like the one who's designing the community governance, or you want to be like a ambassador, or do you want to be like a treasury designer or something like that in the community role?
um, for better or for worse, I become basically the figurehead of the community. Yeah, so that's what I've been.
And do you think what would it take to become the figurehead of the community? With that, I mean, like there must be a lot of conviction to it, but I mean, what motivates you to do that, or like to be the figurehead? Let's
I
say at this point.
I really want to see our community members have a better life. Although it's a long game, it's not about, people making money all the time because that's never possible and you can never promise that. But by showing authentic care, designing programs, and then giving people skills where they can actually do better for themselves, that's kind of what we want to do for our community members.
Have you started your succession planning yet?
No, we have not. I'm hoping that the community can figure that out for me.
Okay, so I mean, like right now, I mean, is there any sort of initiative or a scheme in the community so that they will be able to step up and maybe to like maybe nominate themselves for the figurehead position or something like that?
Well, there's a lot of leaders within our communities, definitely. So if you look at uh, our guild leaders, our content creators, our educators, there's many different types of leaders, and I think that's what makes YGG work so well.
Right. So I think that we are coming very close to the end. Is there any kind of final wise words that you would like to share with the audience on top of everything else that we have discussed?
No, if you'd like to check out our game, just go to lol.land and tell us what you think.
So that would be your major announcements, I guess, after this session, right? Is there any other activity, I think this year or early next year, that you would like to launch as YGG?
Yeah, we're doing the YGG Play Summit in November in Manila, so please join us there.
Awesome. All right. Okay. Thank you so much. So we look forward to seeing a lot of people in our audience here at the YGG Play Summit in Manila this November. So that
Thank
would
you.
be like the final message from Gabby and me. All right. Thank you. And back to the organizing team.